Hello, YouTubers. This is Joe Bravo with Mo Bravo's Knife Reviews, and I'm with Dryan Lynn,
at NYC Knife Life.
and this is the Northeast EDC podcast, episode 7.
Yes, I
Did you
think
ever
it's
think
seven.
that we'd get 7 of these and people are still listening?
Dude, no. Honestly, I thought it would just be like one and done.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny when people pester us, when's the next time you're going to do a the podcast, and it's nice that people look forward to our content and what's going on in the knife community. I'm really impressed and really thankful for the reception that we're getting through this channel. So if everybody's listening, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Definitely. Like all of our socials have like gone up since then. I think I received at least like 200 like followers. I don't know if it's from this and us doing things, but like it's happening.
It sure is. So I'm gonna jump right into it. Brian and I were talking about this real quickly before coming on tonight. Um, Brian Brown custom knife sold for over $5,000 this weekend. Did you see that, Ryan?
Yeah, I saw that, and like somebody in our knife chat group linked a screenshot. Like somebody like bid like 5 grand. I didn't take the time to like research and see who, but like holy shit, 5 grand.
Yeah, I mean, and fuck, I wish I was.
I mean, good for Brian Brown.
Well, yeah,
Like
without a
get
doubt.
that bag.
Yeah, because it's funny. The Arius, the prototype mini Arius.
Hmm.
I don't remember what that went for. Do you? I'm trying to think.
Prototype mini areas
Yeah, the
around
auction piece.
around that same price, I think.
Was it 5 or was it 3 or was it 7? I'm trying to remember. But
I don't know.
damn,
Somebody can let us know in the comment section.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean it's the first one, right? It's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
and it's a collaboration piece,
This
right?
this Brian Brown one.
Yeah.
It
It
is,
could
yeah. Yeah, my buddy just sent me the invite for the group and I just jumped in. Uh Man, what the hell is it begins with the letter M. I can't think of it right now. I'm
the
trying to
name of
look.
the knife.
No, the collaboration. Maskas,
Yeah.
Maskas, Maskas Precision. Have
Oh
you ever
yeah,
heard of them?
I never heard of them. Saw the group. Was too lazy to join the group, but I might join the group like after this. But they have some like really cool looking knives. Like I'm not familiar with them at all, but it'd be something worth checking out in
You
my
know,
opinion.
it was funny at first glance. The first thing I told myself was, oh, that looks like a chimera or a chimera.
Chimera.
Yep, yeah, I'll correct myself after I
I
say it. Yep, but it looked like a chimera. This one right here.
mhm.
Luke Fritzl has one. Fucking A, I'm telling you, Luke is on point. If you ever follow whatever the hell he's got, it's usually about a month and a half ahead of what everybody starts chasing. It's really funny because this thing looks awesome. I don't know the kind, I don't know the model, I don't know nothing. All I know is it looks like if I wanted a custom version of a Chimera with a Damascus pivot collar, a really nice set of titanium scales, and that wonderful, wonderful hollow grind that the Chimera has. And yeah, I'm definitely going to take a look at these and see what they're all about. They're really pretty. This is a segundo for all that are paying attention. Again, that is Maskas, Maskas Precision Knives Group. You can follow there on Facebook. Pretty cool stuff.
And it's kind of like as a knife collector myself, like I've been collecting knives seriously for a year now. It's kind of like a little bit overwhelming from my perspective of to like where to start, when you dive into customs and like what the difference between an actual custom is versus like a store custom. Like for instance, like stores like SMKW, right? They have custom section like in their basement level, but like once you get down there, there's not a single custom knife in sight. It's mostly just like junky gas station knives that they like market as customs. So it's like where if a person wants to dive into the custom market, like where would they like go to? Like who would they like talk to? And like how would you like break in into, I guess, that whole entire side of EDC without also overpaying and getting the best bang for your buck?
Well, I think the first thing you have to touch upon is overpaying. I
Hmm.
will say what I found so far in my journey as a custom knife collector is when you buy directly from the maker or directly at table, two things can happen after you buy that knife. One, the knife price can go up because there's want on the secondary. And two, the knife price could go down because there's not interest on the secondary market. And it's a little disconcerting when you've never handled a knife from a specific custom maker and you're going to shell out $5,500, let's say, on a Brian Brown custom. And, it's a dangerous game. And especially, you got guys like Brian Brown, you can't get on his books and he offers up an auction and you really want to get one. So you buy it. Now you spent $5,500 because you wanted to be the one that had that Brian Brown custom. You get it in your hand and you flick it one time, and it's the worst action you ever had. Now, no, I'm not saying that the Brian Brown. I'm just saying,
Using metaphor.
in your opinion, whatever
Yeah.
knife you just chased after that you bought for top dollar amount at an auction or at table or when you directly contacted the custom knife maker, boom, you spent the money, you dropped it. Now you either like it and it's your forever grail, or you don't like it and you want to trade out of it or sell it. Are you going to get your money back? And that's a tough thing to come to
Swallow.
terms with,
Yeah.
because when you deal in the production knife realm, a $500 knife that's a production, what's the worst you're going to take a hit? $100, $200?
Not even. Most of the time it's like 100.
Okay. So now you spend, let's not use the Brian Brown metaphor anymore. Let's go to Craig Brown. And the Craig Brown semi customs you have the ability to get. Um, you could get a Damascus Damasteel LHCX, which is coming out soon. You could get your semi custom spot and you could spend $1,800 on an LHCX semi custom. And 2 weeks later, you could go to sell it. And the same thing, that Craig Brown market hasn't caught up to the level of quality he's producing. And it seems like everything's going for table minus 100. And sometimes with these semi customs, with all the bells and whistles, it gets even more difficult because maybe somebody doesn't want to spend $1,800 on purple fat carbon with a Damascus inlay and a Zerk pivot and a dark Damascus pocket clip. Now you got to find somebody that's not looking for a one of one, or a production knife where there's 100 made of this configuration and everybody's going after it. It's here's 100 different semi-custom knives that can be tailor-made to whatever the maker has. And now you're trying to sell what was worth $1,800 to you to somebody else that might not see the beauty in that $1,800, and only thinks it's worth $1,400. So now you're $400 out because you wanted to try a custom maker. And it's difficult. What do you think, Ryan? I know I'm sitting here rambling. I hope that what I'm saying is making sense, right?
Yeah, so basically like so when you buy knives, right, it's kind of like buying stocks in the sense of not keeping them. So over time, when it comes to production models, like it's not that big of a risk because there's always a market for things like Benchmade bug outs, Spyderco PM2s. Like, I mean, you'll probably take a small hit when you sell them, like give or take $50. But when it comes to customs, especially customs with no backing, like there's just no telling of either it'll shoot through the roof in popularity and everybody's gonna want it, or it's just gonna tank. Like for instance, like um recently there was a, well, recent but like not like it within a month recent, but like within the past year, and Chris Reeves teamed up with Shirogorov and made like their own like combo Frankenstein monster knives that I've seen like on Arizona Knives. I've seen on Knife Center and everything, and like they look cool and everything, but realistically, nobody's talking about them. Like, I mean, they could be sleeper knives, but like literally, like I don't know anybody that owns them, and it just seems like those kind of customs will sit for a while, as even at dealers, and just like be like eye candy at most, and just not move at all. And if somebody owns them, they might take a hit of like $500 trying to just move that particular knife.
No, I agree, and it's almost you gotta say that's not even a custom knife at that point.
No.
And you could think about that too with some of the Shiragorovs. The collaboration knives aren't necessarily custom knives. They're a custom production knife, and
Hmm.
people can say the same thing about Craig Brown. That's why he calls them a semi-custom. Or even Koenig. Koenig, I mean, there's CNC machined parts that are assembled in the configuration that you want. And there's some discrepancy in the industry whether or not that's considered a custom knife or a semi custom knife because it's not being handmade. But, regardless, the fact of how do you get one, what's the best way to handle it, and, how do you um, mitigate your loss or minimize your exposure to loss.
Right.
And I'll give you my opinion with, let's call it Craig Brown. I bought an LHCX version 2 in my Carta for $700 on the secondary, and I bought a Cortex a Cortex version 1 in my Carta, and I bought them to test them out to see if I liked them on the secondary. Somebody took a hit. They lost 50 or $100. I bought it. I sold it for what I paid for it. And I basically rented the night to figure out whether or not I wanted to chase after a higher end version on this knife. And the answer was yes. I went from an LHCX V1 uh I'm sorry, LHCX V2 to an LHCX, which is the liner lock version. And then I bought 6 Cortexes to find the right one. And I settled on an $1,850 Thor Dama steel with Zerk um, scales, uh, Zerk pocket clip, and Zerk backspacer. Uh, and I bought that on the secondary to mitigate my loss. And to be honest, I might not even be able to get my money back on it just because the Craig Brown secondary is soft. And it's okay because I know that's a forever knife because I knew 80% of what that knife was going to be before I bought it. So when I purchased it at the price that I did, I knew I was going to love it, and it was going to be a forever piece. And I feel like that helped mitigate my loss should I ever need to move that piece down the road. I bought it at a discount. So if I lose $100 or $200, it's a lot better than buying it at 1850 and losing $600. You feel me?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if it's going to be a piece that you want to like keep, like then money shouldn't be like an issue, right? Like if I mean, we keep saying a knife is only worth what it is, right? Or what we're willing to pay for. And I think your example of like the Craig Brown knives that you have, um, sometimes if we want something bad enough, like we'll pay a little bit extra, in my opinion. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I agree. I mean, shit, like I said, I had 5, 6 Cortexes. All of them were under $1,000, and I loved every bit of them. But to be honest, the Cortex V1 was a little too light for me. And the semi-custom spot was opening up, and my buddy Eric was going in for a semi-custom, and he wanted the exact same configuration that he had already with the Dama steel blade. And I said, "Yo, let me get that off you." So I took his Cortex number 123. He gave it to me for $50 less, which is fine. I ended up giving my semi-custom spot to my buddy, and then Eric bought that same knife with the Thor Dama steel blade. And turns out a buddy of mine had one in a similar configuration. He needed to make some moves, so I bought it off of him. And then I ended up selling the one with the stonewash blade to somebody else. So I have basically that exact same configuration with the Thor Dama steel now, at around that same price point that I bought that knife off of Eric. And all in all, I'm happy. And did I overpay? Yeah, probably, because I would have been just fine with the $800 version of that knife that I bought for 750 or 700. Except I wanted a knife with a little bit more weight. And the only way to do that with these Craig Brown knives is to get a semi-custom spot and configure it with the Zerk scales, or the Damascus scales, or the Zerk liner, and get a little bit more weight. And I did. And now I've got a piece that's going to be a forever knife.
Yeah, I mean, like, one knife I recently got in the mail that I'm like playing with right now is the We the People Large Sabenza, and I traded a guy for it in one of the groups, and he I traded him in like a PDW waving Kosi, and it was just one of those things where it's like I wanted it bad enough. Like I could have gotten like other trades on the PDW waving Kosi. Uh, we the People's like trade value, I think it's like 800. Like PDW is like 1600 at least. But like I wanted it bad enough, and I was like, "Yo, let's do a straight swap," and so we did, and that's how I got it. But if it's a forever piece, you'll just do whatever you needs to happen to like get it in your collection, you know?
Yeah. Now, and just to kind of circle back to what we were talking about getting custom knives, um, every maker, and this is going to come as a surprise to some people, every maker is just a person.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're a maker that wins prizes like Brian Brown. There are makers like Anton Knives, who is part of the South African Custom Knife Makers Guild. There's Gareth Bull, Jason Bull. There are people like I don't know, what are some other custom, like Jamie Simeon. So uh, I reached out to Jamie Simeon, and I said, Jamie, I wanted to buy a knife from you. And he was busy doing the Nashville show. And I went to his Instagram page, and I saw a couple of knives, and I screen grabbed it. I said, hey, you brought this knife to Tennessee. Do you still have something like this available? And he said, yeah, I do. I said, I'm on vacation. I'll be home in like a week and a half, 2 weeks. Sure enough, 2, 3 weeks later, he's sending me pictures of a custom knife that he had that didn't sell at the Nashville show. So I reached out to him, and he gave me a number, and I bought a custom knife from a custom knife maker because I reached out to him. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Don't be afraid to contact one of these knife makers that you might have a little bit of
Crush on.
oh yeah, exactly. I mean, the guy's gonna be honest with you, because I don't know if you know this or not. They're doing this to make money. And that doesn't take away from the fact that they pour their blood, sweat, and tears out of it, but it's also their job.
They
They
gotta
make
eat.
knives so that they can sell them and that you can buy them. So if you say, Mr. Maker, I would like to give you money, he could say, I have the time to take your money. Or he could say, I don't have the time to take your money. Like I reached out to Brian from Sharp by Design, who happens to be around the block from me. He's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes away from me. And I would want nothing more than to get a custom knife from Brian, who lives around the block from me. And
ShopRite
to my
Designs in New Jersey?
yeah, yeah, you want to laugh? I called him out on it. There's a fucking ice cream store. I used to live in the town that he lives in, and the name of the ice cream store is Cones by Design.
Cones by ooh.
So I was go, yo, be real with me. You got that shit from the ice cream store. He goes, yeah, I did. So it was
That's
really,
funny.
really funny because nobody, if you live in New Jersey, if you didn't drive past, I mean, I fucking ate ice cream at that place multiple times. Great ice cream. And it was just funny because what is inspiration? Inspiration's nothing but you drive past that place every day to get fucking home. And you're like, huh, that's cool. Cones by Design.
I mean,
Maybe,
everybody loves ice cream, so
yeah.
it's
And shit, I don't ever hear anybody talking shit on Sharp by Design being a dumb name, right?
right.
So his inspiration worked. He's got a great brand. He makes a great knife. I want to
But
support him. I reached out to him. He's making a knife right now that I don't particularly care for. It's
ooh,
a double-sided dagger. I mean, it's fucking
ew.
awesome. Don't get me wrong. No, don't ill.
Double-sided dagger? That's kind of, I mean, I
It's
gotta
a
see it.
flipper. Yeah, it's fucking awesome. Don't get me wrong. I just don't want it, which
Hmm.
is fine. It's like I'm not into double-sided daggers at this point.
Right. I mean, you'll get that fixed blade kick.
No, it's a folder.
It's a folder?
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
I know. And I actually got to try a full-size Typhoon, one of the Riot versions.
Hmm.
If the Riot is that good, I definitely want to try a custom from Sharp by Design and Brian. Um, I was really impressed. I know a lot of people had them for a while. Those are actually coming up. There was a big pre-sale, and everybody was telling me you got to get in. How you got to get in? They're using M398. They're the only ones using M398. Get in, get in, get in. And his design just didn't speak to me at the moment. And now I'm kicking myself because I wish that I was getting one of his front flippers from Riot because he's got a great detent and great action, great fall shut. I think you could throw skiffs in there. And all in all, just a great package. And it just goes to show you when your taste changes, you know, 3 months ago, I didn't want to give any money to this guy. And now I want to give him money and he doesn't want to take it because he's not making the kind of knife that I want to make. But again, at the end of the day, I'm bullshitting with my neighbor on Instagram over fucking knife stuff. And when the opportunity comes and he is making a custom knife that I want, I'm pretty sure if I send him a message, there's a good chance we could work something out.
Yeah, definitely.
And what did it take? A fucking Instagram message to a guy that responded and engaged. Now, if the guy that you want to deal with doesn't want to engage with you, you know, I guess you're gonna either have to get an auction piece or like there's Luther knives. He's got like 3-4 year backlog on his knives
That's so far.
so far. And his books are closed. So like not only is he backlogged and not only are his books closed, but his books are going to be closed for at least another 4 years. So I mean, God bless him, but damn, if you want a piece and you want one of his so bad, I was able to pick one up secondary. Guy paid $1,650 for an auction piece.
$1,650. Holy shit.
Yep. I mean, it's big money for a knife. It's a
Yeah,
liner lock, it's a Nicholas show side scale. And I was sweating it too. That's why I bought it. When I got it in my hand, I was mortified because it didn't meet my expectations of some of the other production knives because sometimes custom knives look better than they perform for guys like me that like actions. There's other people that like a pretty knife that they're going to put in a case, they're going to look at it, and that's going to be sufficient for their spend on $1,650.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it wasn't my cup of tea, and I moved it on.
That's fair.
It's fair for me. It's not fair for the guy that took a freaking loss on it because he bought it at auction. And it's funny too. I reached out to 5 people that bid on that.
Really.
Yep, nobody wanted it. So it's like, why was it okay for you to spend a bid at like, $1,350 and
Mm-hmm.
now you didn't win it? And I went back to you and said, hey, here's that knife you bid 1350 on. Do you want it for 1200? And they're like, no, I don't want it. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, selling this custom knife is going to be a little harder than I thought.
Well, it's the FOMO factor,
I
right?
know, and that's what I keep wanting to bring up. Just like this knife from Brian Brown, it's funny to talk about it, but damn, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money. You're right.
It's like these Borkas, the Borkas that go for like 3 grand, 4 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, there's a sham, a gold, copper, dust, fucking sham Larry auction piece with Damascus blade. Somebody wants $4,500 for it. It was an auction piece. I bet you this guy's selling that fucking thing at a loss for $4,500.
Yeah, like I mean, some of these pieces are just insane.
Yeah, I mean, but you want a custom and you want the custom and you want to take pictures on your Facebook page, or you want the best action out there, or you
Flex on
want,
people and everything like that.
yeah, I mean, then listen, you do you. I ain't gonna tell you nothing. I've got
Right.
knives that are over $1,500 right now in my collection. I'm an idiot, but that's my prerogative. So I can't really get too excited when somebody wants to throw down 5 grand, uh, and they have the disposable income to allow it. God bless him. God bless Brian Brown too. Fuck, man, he is doing everything right. If he's getting people that are willing to spend that much money on his customs, God bless him.
I mean, he's
More
won
power
awards.
to him.
Like, I mean, don't sleep on his knives.
No, no, not at all. I was so impressed. He won Blade Show Best Tactical Folder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the drops coming out. Shit, I've got 4 pre-sales from Brian Brown. So no, I'm not sleeping on his knives. How many do you got pre-sale?
Right now it's just the Raptor.
Yeah, I got 2 Raptors and I got 2 Chucks.
Looking out for that Jaeger drop. That EDC Foundry has no idea as of
Like
right
fucking
now.
finding Waldo at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, they hope for August.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I hope so too. It would be
so
great to get
what?
a Jaeger. You know what? Did I tell you I got a Jaeger?
Yeah. You told me you got a Jaeger.
I got a Jaeger. My buddy Will gave me a sweet deal on the Jaeger.
You got a sweet video up right now that I saw the other day with like comparing the new Fraxon, the new Vero Fraxon to the Jaeger.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really, really good comparison between those two. I think they're both punching in the same weight class. They both got quality materials, quality action. They're both made by Chinese OEMs. They're designed by American makers. And
I
yeah, it
think it's a
was
fair comparison.
yeah. Which one did you like? Now you had a Jaeger and you had a Fraxon.
Yep. So right now I had a V2 Jaeger and I had a Fraxon, the full DLC Fraxon. Acoustically, if that's even a word.
It is.
The word okay. The acoustics on it were phenomenal on the Fraxon. It sounded like a fucking Arius, to me at least. I don't know how other people are doing theirs, but like mine just sounded like a fucking Arius. So I would say very close on the acoustics with the Jaeger and the Fraxon. Ergonomically, the Fraxon is thinner, I think, and it just fit my hand better. I'm more of like a mid-sized knife, like type of guy, like large Sabenzas, like they fit my hand perfectly. And I from that standpoint, like also like I'm coming it from like just how it felt in hand and like how it performed like cutting task and everything. And I just think that the blade shape on the Fraxon even like it just I don't know how to explain it. Like the front end of the blade, like the part of the tip uh the Jaeger is angled higher, so it just, to me, it like when I was like cutting into packages and stuff on the Jaeger, it was just like kind of awkward as opposed to like the Fraxon, which was easier for me, that I noticed. And also just the fact that the Fraxon is a front flipper as opposed to just like being like a knife with a flipper tab was just very, I mean, the fidget factor was significantly much better than a Jaeger, in my opinion. I mean, don't sleep on the Jaeger. If they come out with a 3.0, I think it would just blow the Fraxon out of the water. But like right now, where the 2.0 is at, I think it's just way too chunky, and that's my only complaint on it. That like the more I think about it, it's just like compared to the Fraxon, like if the Jaeger was a little bit thinner, maybe, like, right, like I think it would just be a better knife if it was thinner. But different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, and Joseph really knocked it out of the park with the Fraxon.
He brought the heat.
He beveled down the edges, and we're saying Fraxon, and we're gonna keep saying Fraxon, but for everybody that doesn't know, Fraxon means the frame lock Axon that was just released, and the beveled edge on the Fraxon really contours to your hand a lot better. And it's funny, Brian, you did a killer job stating how large size Sabenza is almost like a glove size.
Yeah,
All right. I mean, I got my buddy a full size Anton Knives Boudica front flipper, and he held it in his hands, and I was telling him how to use it. And I almost felt bad for him because his hands are smaller than mine. And it seemed like he might struggle a little bit from deploying this knife. And he might be better suited buying like the 3.3 inch. And you don't know that until you get your hands on this. What having it in your hand is going to feel ergonomically. And it was really
exactly.
interesting because the Boudica fits my hand so great. It's a frame lock, but I'm not riding the lock bar because I have the real estate to put it in my hand and open it. And the same goes for the frame lock accent. Even though the Brian Brown is thicker, the way the edges of the Fraxon, um, I guess they bellow out towards the middle and then go convex back towards the bottom of the scale. I think it really allows for the palm swells to get into your hand better, so that when you got to grip it and rip it to flip it, uh, I didn't find myself riding the lock bar and having missed deployments as much as I would with other frame locks. I mean, shit, I got a 3.3 inch frame lock sham, and I fucking loathe it. I just can't deploy it properly because my hands are too big. The 3.3 inch micarta liner that I have is fabulous, out of control. Um, the way I've been deploying the Boudica, I thought that I was going to like the frame lock sham better because the frame lock would have a stronger detent. I can't tell you how wrong I was, which again, and you're gonna laugh about this. I've got two micarta liner lock shams. I did a video of them. Each one is different in their own right. One's a checker blade, one's a drop point, and the checker has a lighter detent than the drop point. So again, you've got two custom handmade knives at the same price point. They're both liner lock. They both are 3.3 inches on bearings, and even that much shows the difference between a handmade knife and the variances between one and the other versus production knives. Isn't that crazy sometimes?
Yeah, and honestly, like it, part of like buying these like higher end knives at like higher price points, you expect them to come out of the box problem free, right? Like you kind of like worry more about the different nuances of the knife and how it's produced rather than like the actual function. Because I mean, realistically, like anything above like $100 knife is like all people really need, like 100, like a benchmade bug out, or like some sort of like Spyderco Shaman or whatever. Like those are just like the benchmark of like the one and done. But like once you get like the higher end stuff, like the CRKs, like the Koenigs, like the Shiros, and like and then eventually like custom and stuff like that, and you start to worry about like the different nuances. Like, is this drop shot? Like, how does it ergonomically fit into my hand? Like, is it like does the pocket clip catch? Are there hot spots? Stuff like that. And it's important to like for knife makers to fix like nuancy areas like that for their blades to shine for knife enthusiasts like us. And when they do listen, and when like their knives speak for themselves, kind of like the Fraxon did, like where we saw like improvements in the pocket clip and then like the extended flipper tab, I think it just goes to show like how like it's a little peek into the future of the brand, in my opinion, of any knife brand, when the maker listens to the community. Because like without the community, the maker wouldn't be making all this money, and like his knives wouldn't be improving. So it's kind of like a, I would say like a coexisting relationship in a way. And so I think that part of knife collecting is very important.
No, I agree. I really do. And it makes it frustrating when you get a custom and the lock bar and the lockup isn't 100%.
Exactly.
We've talked about a couple of makers and we don't need to go into it because,
Hmm.
every maker, it's
Every maker is
handmade.
different. Yeah.
Yep. And but sometimes you get one and it's not right. And I know multiple people with multiple instances where the knife came from them from the custom maker, and it needed to be tweaked. And most of the time it gets tweaked and it is fantastic. So, if it doesn't suit you, it just adds to the level of communication you hope to have from the maker. And if the guy don't get back to you before you give him the money, um, it's almost a sign that says he's definitely not going to get back to you after you give him the money.
Yeah.
But if the guy is responsive before you give him the money and you have an issue and the issue is a real issue, uh, at least most of the American makers, I can't speak with the difficulties with stuff coming out of Canada and out of South Africa, you
Oh, for
know,
sure.
but if these local makers, I mean, even Joseph Vero through OEM Ria, I had an issue, we resolved it, and he was more than happy to deal with the customer service on a production knife. The custom knives might take a month to get it back, but
Huge shout out to like Vero and like Joseph Vero and like his wife. Like huge shout out to them, like with the customer service. Like they are on point with that kind of stuff. Like they don't have to, like they have a very small team. It's just them two, and sometimes I think his dad helps out. But like shout out to the like customer service that they provide, even if it's just them two, like above and beyond of any like knife designer out there.
yeah, I agree. And that's a guy who I reached out to on Facebook. He responded. He messaged me about some stuff. I responded. And, you want to feel like you make a relationship with a maker like that. And you know that if you had a question or you had an issue, uh, you could just click right back on that Facebook chat box, send a message, and if he can get back to you in a timely fashion, there's no doubt in my mind that he would. And it's great. That's the kind of
Hmm.
guy you want to support and you want to keep, buying knives from makers like that.
Oh yeah, exactly. Also, completely off topic, but KPL on the washers of any large CRK 21. If you guys been wondering like what the noise in my background is, it's just me taking apart my We the People large Sabenza and then just like putting KPL oil on the washers, and it is like I did it. This is my third time doing it, but like the first time I did it, like holy shit, like it's extremely flickable. And like the CRK, like any 21, if you do this, they will become a fidget toy. Like it's not drop shut. It'll like a CRK will never be drop shut unless you polish the washers. I think that's what I've heard. But the closing is smoother and flicking it open, it's like fucking butter.
Nice. Speaking of washer based thumb stud knives, I got my first Cody Utzler, Eutsler. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I got my first duck. Yay. And you know what they say the duck is? A flickable Sabenza. And sure enough, it is. That son of a bitch fires out like a rocket.
Yeah, like dude, I don't know. Like I'm gonna send you a video right now,
Okay.
actually. I don't know if they'll disrupt the stream or not, but
That'll be fine.
like okay, so holy shit. Like this thing is so fucking flickable.
Yeah. I mean, I believe you. I hear you in the background. I have been flicking my whatchamacallit, quantum. I got a quantum in today.
So a quantum?
Yeah, you didn't know about that, did you?
Actually, I saw that in the IG chat.
Yeah, so Alf traded a Shiro F3NS
Mm-hmm.
to my buddy Jay. Jay traded that to me for my Simeon, and then I traded the F3NS to my buddy Drew for a Quantum. And I used to talk shit on Quantums all the time.
Yes, you did.
And I'm gonna be honest, this thing's fucking awesome. I really am. And I apologize. I sent you the quantum video. But I can Spidey flick a quantum, and I'm excited about that. I wanted a Shiro I could Spidey flick, and I talked to a lot of people that said Spidey flicking a quantum was difficult. Uh, I beg to differ. I mean, I'd say I'm about 80%, and I think it's mainly because there's not really a big cutout for access to the fuller. And it is a fuller. If it was a hole, it would probably be easier. And also, there's a lot of fucking blade stock there to let loose. But yeah, I mean, I haven't hit the flipper tab once, and you could hear it. There's no
Mm,
flick, there's no wrist. Yeah, there's a miss and there's a hit. So very enjoyable. But now I'm gonna watch your video on the We the People.
yep.
Yeah,
Like look at
nice.
that.
Oh yeah, fucking a. That reminds me of my TI Monolock, which is probably my fastest deployment knife I have. It's
What wasn't our friend MB Wild? He said that I mean like he hates. Well, I wouldn't say hates. I would say he dislikes Sabenzas, but he also has a Sabenza himself. But he said that it's broken in so much that it's flickable, where like he'll keep it
yeah,
because the fact that
yeah,
it's flickable.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
feel like um where this 21 is right now is kind of like where I want all my Spenzas to be at. Like I have a brand new S45 VN Madagascar Ebony uh large 31, and it's not as flickable as this. Holy shit. But I
Wow.
mean, the We the People has been around since like what 2017. I mean, this one was safe queened. It's probably no longer going to be safe queen since I take it apart and everything like that. But yeah, I'm definitely going to use this knife.
And it
But
is a 21, right?
yeah, it's a 21.
So I had
21's flick different
yo,
than
how
31's.
about it? So I had a 21. I traded for a Vero Mini Impulse. I got cash and a Bloodwood Orange Sembenza 21 large for
Hmm.
a mini impulse back in the day when hype was real, if you can
Right.
imagine that. And I reached out to a guy who saw that I had it, and he's like, dude, I'll buy it in a heartbeat. So I said, okay. So I didn't get the knife in hand yet. It came in and I flicked it, and I was fucking mortified that I sold the knife before I even had it in hand. Now, I had a 31 in my possession at that time. I
Right.
had tried other 21s and Zons at the store. I had
Hmm.
Nkosi's.
What store?
There's a knife store in New Jersey that just went out of business that had CRKs.
Rip.
Yep. But I was mortified that I had to sell this fucking knife.
Smooth as fuck.
It had leather, the leather lanyard. It
Mm-hmm.
had the gold pivot. It was high polish, bright wash. The Sabens, I mean, it was used. There's no doubt about that. It was used, but
Right.
fuck, did it have character, and fuck, did it have a beautiful action. And Nathan, if you're still listening, I know you don't listen to these podcasts no more, but fuck, I'll buy that from you in a heartbeat. What an amazing, amazing knife, you know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But yeah, I don't own a Sabenza right now. I would like a Sabenza. I would like that Sabenza. But you know,
I own 3.
I really do feel like that they're great users, and I don't think anybody would have any
Oh yeah.
problem having one in their,
S-
in
So
their repertoire.
I traded my small waving Kosi for a blue dog paw lanyard, 21 large, plus 500 on top. But yeah, I use that like for my new puppy, just building his crate, just cutting tags off of things and like cutting up his like little like fresh pet dog food that we feed him like every morning and every night, and
Yeah,
it,
well, it's
it
funny.
works like a charm.
You bought a fucking knife because it was a fucking Yorkie or blue or whatever.
Well, my dog's name is Blue, and it had blue dog paws and a blue lanyard on it. So,
Right, but you already bought it. You had a TRM that was going to be your fucking dog knife, right?
yeah. So the TRM Neutron, I was like it's kind of like too small, so I just like sold that one. Yeah,
So you had your fucking dog forever knife that fucking went and you replaced it with another dog forever knife.
a better dog forever knife. If I get a golden retriever, I have to go and search for the gold dog paw
Oh man. All right.
CRK.
So did you watch my video?
Yeah, the Quantum,
No, no, fuck the quantum. Look at the other one.
the duck.
Yeah.
Dude, that thing is so yeah, you already showed me this like earlier in the week, like that drop shot action. Holy shit.
That's on washers. Those are fucking Teflon washers.
So you said that it's like it's not stock. You said
Correct.
that they put new, what was it? New Teflon
Yeah,
washers in
Teflon
there.
washers. So this
And
thing
then
came with bearings.
something else you said
Yeah,
that they
so
did to it.
this was an actual flipper at one point.
Oh, they did a flipper delete.
Yep. So they did and you couldn't even tell. I mean,
Hmm.
you know, what's funny? This fucking action was so good. I was questioning looking inside of it to see fucking Teflons.
No one's talking about ducks right now either.
Nobody's talking about him, but they're commanding such a price point, man. It's hysterical. You can't
Yeah.
find one for less than 2 grand.
See, like the new hype right now, I think it's the Kennison knives,
Oh,
like
for
the
sure.
stray pups.
My buddy already just sent me a message and said, you know,
Also, EDC Foundry drop for the Kennison stray
yeah,
pups
that's what he was
soon.
asking about. Yeah, soon.
Soon.
Yeah, soon. When will then be now?
Soon.
Yeah, thank you.
But before the Ariuses. Also, they're going EDC Foundry is getting Ariuses like in August, so
Yeah,
next
it's
month.
funny. Yeah, he was trying to figure
Don't
out.
expect carbon fiber. I don't think they're doing carbon fiber. It's more the plain Jane shit.
And
But
there was an announcement. I guess the prices of Koenigs are going up.
yeah, so across the board, not just EDC Foundry, but just the like Ariuses in general across the board are going up at least like $45 at retail level. That means like places like DLT, like what other places sell Ariuses?
Yeah.
But but other places that sell Ariuses, they will see the same price increase. And I mean, and if you're selling an Arius right now, bump that shit up $50 to like meet the market, you know?
Yep. I don't blame you. I mean, I'm just holding out my Arius money for a DLC, and that fucking DLC better hold up. And I saw this come up. Arius Gen 2 DLC. A guy went to send it in for a spa, and they told him that they couldn't do a DLC spa because they're in between DLC providers right now.
What the fuck?
No, it's old news. I mean,
Yeah.
because the Gen 2 DLC provider is different than the Gen 4 DLC provider that they've
Oh,
got.
so I just remembered about like the coding of knives. So there's recent like I wouldn't say CRK drama, but like just information out there. So somebody did actually not somebody. We'll shout them out. Not your average EDC. You YouTuber, I guess, like Instagram person, but Erica's her name. She did a comparison of the RAC coating on her Benchmade Griptilian with the gun coat on the what is it, the Knife Center exclusive in Kosi. And it turns out that the REC Cerakote holds up better than the gun coat. And there's been talks where Chris Reeves is moving over to a Cerakote from the gun coat in their next run or future runs. I don't know if it's going to be the next run or not. Like I'm not talking to anybody at CRK, but they literally took, and it's been confirmed in the Chris Reeves group fan page groups and by a lot of people that like Chris Reeves told River's Edge Cutlery to basically not Cerakote any Chris Reeves knives. Otherwise, they will be not selling Chris Reeves knives.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess like this isn't like a really common, I mean, this isn't like a one-time thing with Chris Reeves. I guess they've told other companies to like not do custom mods like that. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because like um if they're doing a Cerakote, what's to stop like me going out and getting like a PJ and Kosi and getting it Cerakoted by REC and then like have a quote unquote Knife Center exclusive, nobody would know, you know, especially if the secondary like non-CRK Cerakote is stronger than a CRK Cerakote. So that being said, I understand why they're doing it as like from a business standpoint, but it's just like something that's like I don't know. It's kind of to me, it's that kind of like stings me a little, like as a fan of like Crispy Reeves knives. Like it's just like ooh, like you don't want your I mean, you don't want your fan base to like enjoy their knives that they bought. And I mean, they have a very strict modification like policy with their warranty. Like if you mod it at all and like it's just off warranty. But if you know how to sharpen your knives and you don't hard use them to the point where they'll snap and you need blade replacement, like I don't see why you can't mod your knives, especially your CRKs. So it's just some information to like float out there. If you want to go check out the comparison video for the gun coat and the REC Cerakote, it's on her YouTube page is Not Your Average EDC. And it's one of her recent videos. And you just gotta go back and she's does a lot better at explaining things than we do here. So it's another good YouTube channel to check out that's growing from the ground up.
Nice. Yeah. Appreciate you bringing that up, man.
Hmm.
Um, so you talked about some knives that you had incoming.
Yeah,
I talked about some knives that I had gotten recently.
actually,
What do you have coming in?
okay. So right now I have. Let's see. Let's look at my list. Hold on. It's all color coded and everything. Okay. So I have when we were talking last week, or like our last podcast, episode 6, we were talking about budget EDC, right? Like most of these like podcast episodes, like we just talk about these high-end knives that like are like just hundreds of dollars, if not thousands. And so one of our friends is like saying and bringing up like you guys should like talk about like budget items and stuff like that, right? So and I think it was like episode 1 or 2 where Joe called me out and it's like you can't talk about Brian Brown Jaegers without having one in hand. So I went out and bought, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 set and going to be 7 tomorrow. Um Lower than $100 knives. So I have a Civivi Elemental coming, Elementum, Ontario Rat Model 2 with a custom scale, that I bought separately. Kaiser Mini Sheepfoot, CRKT Polar in copper scale, QSP Penguin Satin and Brass that's coming, Ferrum Forge Stinger that I'm gonna buy from our friend Ben tomorrow, and a Tops Knives Mini Scandy Folder 4.0, along with a Giant Mouse Ace Grand. I just love the Ace Grand, and that's the only giant mouse I like. Fuck the other giant mouses, like they suck. Ace Grand is the only giant mouse you should ever be buying. I pre-ordered the Urban EDC F5.5 exclusive today, and then I just bought a Spyderco PM2 204P satin blade from somebody online for like 180. So I have a shit ton of knives coming in the mail.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you remember this. You last week said
Hmm.
that you were trying to get your collection down to 7 knives.
8. I was trying to get my collection down to 8 knives, but then I was having such a hard time finding 8 knives, and I was just watching YouTube videos of knives and stuff, and I see like everybody like making like these like cheaper knives. Well, shouldn't say cheap, right? More affordable knives, their own by like customizing them and everything like that. So that just got into my head where I'm like, fuck, I could just do this. And so I found a 21 case, and I'm going to fill it with 21 knives instead of just 8 knives. So I split it up to 3 categories, 7 each. It's going to be the higher end knives. So, and then the mid-tier knives, and then the lower end knives. So by mid-tier, I mean anything that's lower than 300, more than 100. By lower than 100, obviously anything that's lower than 100. And then the high-end knives, we're talking about over 300. So for my high-end knives so far, I have it on a list. So Shiro 95T I already have. We the People CRK Large have. Evo 3.0 pre-ordered, the full DLC one. Madagascar Ebony CRK 31 owned. BBK Raptor pre-ordered. Arius Copper Dust DLC, I am searching for that. If anybody who's listening to this that has a lead on the Arius Copper Dust DLC, please DM me. And then my Rosie lottery that I won, pre-ordered, but configuration email hasn't come in. I'm probably in the tail end of that. So lower 300. I said Spyderco PM2 because everybody needs to own a Spyderco PM2 if you're gonna own knives. Uh, Out of all the Benchmates, favorite Benchmade is probably the Benchmade Osborne. I used to have one. I'm trying to get it back, and then I'm going to customize that. Same
You
thing
got
with this PM2.
you got to be specific. Which Osborne did you have?
I had the regular S30V one with the black handle, satin blade.
Nice.
So TRM Shadow in search of, Protect Malibu in search of, specifically the Reverse Tonto all DLC one. Uh, our friend Jake Bearded Gear is making a knife that I am interested in. The Love Concepts Advent. Everybody should go over on Bearded Gear, watch his video on that. It is I'll let you guys decide your opinions on it, but like I am definitely pre-ordering one. And then, like I said earlier, Urban EDC F5.5 exclusive. I pre-ordered it. Pre-order for that is still up. They have the brass one, and then they have their little like art design one. I got the art design one, and then Giant Mouse Ace Grand bought today. So, and then the lower end, uh, like I said earlier, Civivi Elementum, Ontario Rat Model 2, Kaiser Mini Sheepfoot, CRKT Polar, QSP Penguin, Ferrum Fort Stinger, and Tops Knives Mini Scandy Folder 4.0. So these knives might switch out. I might not like the BBK Raptor and switch it for like a Holt Spectre or something. Might not like the Rosie and switch it out for something like a Haptic or something like that. Who knows? But for now, this is my list.
Nice, man. Sounded
Yeah.
like you were reading from a list. Sounded like you got a good direction
Yes.
on you. And I'm really
Yes.
looking forward to seeing how that appears on the New York NYC Knife Life Instagram page. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of content on there. Our
Oh yeah,
listeners can
definitely.
take a listen to, to
Yes.
track how that's following,
Yeah, and so like actually sometimes like knives just come in so quick and leave that like I don't have the time to take photos of them. But for those who are new to this podcast, I am a photographer. And I do mostly portrait photography, but with EDC, I'm diving into product photography a little bit. So check out my IG at NYC Knife Life. You'll see all my recent like knife collecting uh shenanigans, I should say, on there.
And so let me just take a little perspective here.
Hmm.
You named a shit ton of knives.
Right.
Which knife that you own had an MSRP over $1,000?
MSRP over $1,000.
Yep.
I would not on me right now because I sold it, but the Arius the bright wash
$800.
really that was $800.
Yeah,
No,
polished
I paid
chamfered.
925.
All right, still was under a
Yeah,
thousand, but yep.
have not broken the threshold of over actually no, Shiro 95T 1,000
Okay.
MSRP.
All right. Yeah, I'm just not to break balls, just to
Right.
kind of get your perspective.
Hmm.
I'm thoroughly excited for the journey that you have been on and the journey that you're going to be on. Because you have had the lower end stuff, and
Hmm.
I'll be honest, I haven't looked at newer lower end stuff. It's gonna sound bougie as fuck, but my lower end stuff has been Chris Reeves and Vero and Jaegers.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I mean, you cover one spectrum of our listeners, and I cover the other spectrum. I think
Yeah,
that's a good match
yeah.
because, like, I mean, there's new people listening to our podcast all the time. You see in the analytics of the channel, like, I mean, people come to the channel and just be like, "Oh, Joe's got these exotic knives, but like we can't afford them." I'm here to be like, "But you could still partake in EDC with all these cheaper items."
Yep, and you got to remember, and this
Hmm.
is what's funny. 5 years ago, I was on your journey. It just
Hmm.
was a journey that I was taking with PM2s, my Spyderco Sage, my Monolock, my Dragonfly.
Also, PSA, real quick, sorry to cut you off.
Oh, good.
Do not buy a do for whatever reason, do not buy a pair of three for $700. That fucking RAC pair of three is not worth $700. It is worth 300 or lower.
Which
That is
one's
all.
that? I don't even know which one you're talking about.
The River's Edge Cutlery 204 piece steel pair of three that's always going for like 600 or $7 secondary, just because like people are just obsessed with the cult of the avocado with the Millie group and stuff like that. And they sell for that much too, which is crazy.
Well, it's I, I guess it depends on what you're collecting.
Hmm. I
If
mean,
if you want to have every PM3 or every PM2 or
hmm.
shit, I have to laugh. Ryan Harrell, did you see his post today on the Coney group?
Dude, yeah, and like I'm just like that's a car.
Yeah, yeah, but it's funny. His journey is
Hmm.
taking him to he wants to have the fucking top Arius collection or Koenig collection.
Hmm.
He was coming after RJ or Lou. There's some people
Right.
that have some really sweet Koenig collections, and it's funny because that's what he wants to spend his money on.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
And it's
Nothing wrong with
funny.
that.
Shit, 2-3 months ago, he spent big money on a Jaeger custom. Not a Jaeger, a Brian Brown custom. Remember that one that he bought?
Yeah.
And it was so funny to think that he spent, close to 3 grand or whatever on that knife. And then you look at his Koning collection, and like you said, it's a car. It's fucking
Hmm.
wild.
And I mean, like I'll be there at one point, like it's
No, of
just
course,
been a year.
but like somebody can be like, oh, look at Ryan. He spent $500 on $50 knives. Or you could be look at Ryan. He spent 10 grand on $100, 700 or $1,000 knives, and everything is relative. It's just funny, if somebody wants to pay what they want to pay for the knife that's specific or special to them,
Hmm.
God bless them. Let the market dictate it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like we say, a knife is only worth how much people want to buy it at.
Yeah, which is why, you shouldn't price police. I mean,
Yes, price policing is cancer.
it really is. I had some dude step on my duck post and, he was like, "Oh, is this a custom?" And it's like,
I'm gonna get flamed for this, but it's always the poor people price policing.
yeah, you know what? And let me tell you, if you know what the pricing is and you think that it's higher than it's supposed to be, send a DM. But
Hmm.
if you have no idea what that knife is and what the market calls for that knife, and you question the price of the knife, you're literally just trolling for confrontation.
The four P's, poor people price police.
And it's funny because I was actually thrown out of a Facebook group recently.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And the Facebook group that I got thrown out of has a specific do not price police in their rules. And one of the admins was harassing me. So I blocked him 4 months ago. Well,
Yeah.
last week, apparently that guy was so bothered by my posts that I didn't think he could see because I had blocked him that he blocked me. And apparently that was enough to kick me out of the group. That apparently there is an unwritten rule inside the group that says you're not allowed to block the admins, which I don't understand. I don't know. If the rule is a rule, you follow the rule. If the rule ain't a rule and it ain't written, then it ain't a fucking rule. And
Right,
if it
because
ain't a
like
rule and you won't want me in the group, then tell me you don't want me in the group. Then I'll
they
leave the group.
they should just like have like up in their rules just no dudes named Mo Bravo knife reviews in this group.
Yeah. Yeah. Fucking hey man, do it. I don't care. Just fucking be a man about it. Like I just don't understand that. And I had a
So,
couple
and
people
same dude tried to sell a fucking mini goblin for 850 with a damaged
850,
clip.
850. And you know what, man? That's just I don't understand.
I think his post got roasted so much that he deleted it because I can't find it anymore.
Yeah, and he blocked me. I guess he unblocked me after I gave EDC go or no go post just to talk about it. And
Hmm.
again, the resolution was the admin of the group said you're not allowed to block the admins, even though there were 6 other admins that said, hey, if people want to block me, that's fine as long as he doesn't block all of the admins and he's not doing anything wrong. Then if
Right.
me and him have a personal conflict, that shouldn't, prevent him from being in the group because
Hmm.
yeah, it's a group. Yeah, we created it, but like the We Love Knives chat, it really don't belong to anybody. We just pick people to fucking monitor it so that nobody's an asshole.
Yep.
And if the fucking group says don't price police and you don't like where my prices are, then I guess kick me out of your group. I don't know.
I mean,
And
that's what they did.
it is,
It
and it's fine. You know what
is
I
what it
mean?
is,
I can't get butt hurt over it, but
I mean,
it,
some people will claim that your butt hurt.
it can. That's fine. Well, I'll be honest with you. I
Mm.
miss the group. I don't
Yeah.
miss the admins. They didn't do anything for me. It wasn't like
No,
I was
no,
having conversations with them.
no.
I
It's
missed
it's
the
a
group.
good it's a good group to be in, but I mean, there's other groups,
Oh yeah, yep. Like I said, and I got no problem. And guess what? I'm getting price police in other groups for knives that people have no idea about. So it's not
Exactly.
like it's it's gonna go away. But I just don't and somebody commented or messaged me and said I can't believe this guy did that. And the only response is it's just people that are bored, that have nothing
Hmm.
else better to do than to start a confrontation on the internet.
Speaking
And
of boredom, I think there our listeners are pretty bored right now. We should probably wrap things up.
fair enough. Craig Brown semi-customs, 6 p.m. Pacific
Tomorrow?
time, 9 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow.
Hmm.
If you want an LHCX V2, they're going to be discontinued. So might be one of the last times you can get a semi-custom spot with Craig Brown. The Nimble dropped this week. I was able to pick two of them up. Uh, Stay tuned to see how they compare with some low end, low cost knives, comparable to the Axon or the Fraxon or the Jaeger. I think the Nimble at 279 is going to be a very good contender. I picked up a new Anton Knives Boudica front flipper twin pocket with the Damascus pockets. That should be here in a week or two. I'm very excited about that. What else? My Monroe sigil should be coming in the next week or two. I
Ooh,
got a
that's exciting.
Grimsmo Rask V2 bent starburst directly from the Canadians. Hopefully that thing lands on Saturday. With
Hopefully you like that because the Rask is like mountains above a Norseman.
Oh yeah, yep. I mean, I had one and it
Hmm.
was in last week and I bought it before somebody else offered me up their lotto link. And I gave that, for a fair price to my buddy. I gave him what I paid for it. And I figured I'd do the review on my own that's coming in that I got for table. And you talk about custom knives. All right, the Rask is a semi-custom knife because it's CNC made and it's a custom
Right,
knife, but you don't get to pick it. It's maker's choice. So you
right.
literally get on a list for that. The guy says, "Hey, I'm gonna give you the ability to buy this knife. Do you want it or no?" And that's what happened. This guy couldn't capitalize on it or didn't like it, and he passed it on so that somebody could enjoy it. So when
Yeah.
that comes in, I'm going to do a review, compare it to the Spectre, the LHCX,
Hmm.
and have some fun and see if it lives up to the hype or not.
Exactly.
But yeah, I just wanted to share that with the group so that everybody knows what's going on. I don't have any other drop information. Do you?
No, it's been pretty quiet knife wise, knife news wise.
Yeah, I think the fifth 20s should be coming out soon. Supposedly they were going to be like November, but everybody said that there's a good chance it could be out in August. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed, especially since it's the middle of July, which means like by the time we do our next podcast, it could be August and they could be shipping at that point. So fingers crossed for those. I haven't heard about the Chavez Facebook group knife, that thing, the scapegoat. It was supposed to be May. I knew he had delays. Same
Hmm.
thing goes with the Brian Brown Chuck. I guess he got some prototypes in and they had a problem with the heat treating on him. So that extended those as well. They should have been dropped already. And let me just scroll down real quick to see the Weir, the Lucas. That, I don't have a
That
date for that. Do
that's
you?
that's coming out. He said mid-August that they're
Yeah.
gonna be shipping out.
And then the last thing, if anybody is still listening to this, is the Renegade EDC, the Gungnir.
Oh yeah.
That dropped, the pre-sale for that dropped, and I believe it's going to be open maybe till Wednesday. If you haven't gone over to Renegade EDC's website to pre-order one of those, that's a 4-inch M390, fucking heavy duty go to war type folder with I don't want to call it a V hole because it's the pictures show it like a fuller, but it's eventually on the completed version, it's going to be a hole. And it's got one hell of a sound. We talk about the
Hmm.
acoustics of a knife. This thing sounds like it's really going to be a heavy hitter. And I don't want anybody to be left out in the cold. This is going to be one of those knives that a new up and coming custom knife maker makes through an OEM. And it might be sometime for you to have the opportunity to buy another one, like Jaeger. And, he went with what Best Tech first and then switched and did it over at Riot, So again, that's probably why there's been a little bit of time in between the two, last Jaeger drops, right?
Right.
But yeah, other than that, those are all my pre-sales. There should be a Fraxon drop coming up soon. Typically, when Vero pre-sales get released, the leftovers are then offered to the people. So keep a lookout for the Fraxon drop.
Also, Neuron drop or not drop, pre-order.
Yep. So that's the slip joint, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. So Vero's got a little slippy coming out with a double detent. And if you haven't followed Joseph on his Instagram, he does a great job explaining what the double detent is. Just like your knife on your frame lock has a detent ball that pushes pressure on the blade so that you can't shake it open. The double detent style has the exact same thing on the knife in the open position. So you have to apply a certain amount of force to bypass the force applied at the detent ball on the close, which means that there's no lock bar engagement like you have on a typical frame lock or a liner lock. All that's there is the detent on the blade itself in the open position. So no, it's not going to be a gun gear. No, it's not going to be a fixed blade replacement. But if you want a nice little slip joint by Vero, the Neuron is the one that's coming up. And as soon as I get a date for that, we'll be more than happy to share it with you guys.
For sure.
All right. So again, this is Joe Bravo with Mo Bravo Knife Reviews. You can find me on Instagram at Watson and the Shark. You can no longer find me on that one Facebook group, but you could find me on a shit ton more. And you could catch Brian at.
And you can catch me at NYC Knife Life on my Instagram, or you could just find me on Facebook.
And keep a lookout for the YouTube reviews. Like I said, I'm going to get the duck on there in the next couple of days. I definitely want to get the quantum on there because that's a bad knife. And I want everybody to see that. And then again, hopefully next week I can get the Rask versus Spectre versus LHX V1 review out there as well, so that we can get a little bit of an understanding of how that compares to some of the other heavy hitters in my collection. Well, I know this was a long one. I got to thank everybody for tuning in, and make
Take
sure
care,
to
guys.
like, subscribe, comment, and have a great week.
Later. Bye.
Thanks.